Hello everybody and welcome back to the Political Opinions podcast, where every opinion is given equal footing and political tolerance and debate are given their proper attention in a world where both are on the decline. Today's episode will cover different opinions on social media. Now, social media has in many ways totally revolutionised the way that we as a society live. We have never been more interconnected and have never had such an open window into different people's lives. But with all new things, there are those who are sceptical, and more recently there has been rapidly rising in many cases, concerns over whether or not social media is actually good for us, with many reports saying it's bad for mental health, general well-being, and many other factors. So today we will unpack and compare these opinions as we try to answer the question, is social media actually good for us? The main branding of social media is often how it can connect people and create interaction. And that is really perhaps the strongest point of social media. Prior to social media and the internet as a whole, communicating with people who weren't very close to you was extremely difficult. Phone calls would cost a lot of money, and letters take a long time to get to people. Plus, if you live in the UK at least, whether your letter will even get to them is a whole nother question. But with social media, this has entirely changed. Social media has boosted interaction by allowing you to communicate with anyone, anywhere, instantly. No matter who your friends or family or other random people you've never met are, you can communicate them. All they need is an internet connection and problem solved. And as such, some say social media has been extremely positive in this effect. And this idea of kind of instant communication spreads further, particularly to the point of news. Social media allows for the sharing of real-time news and information, which allows people to stay easily connected and informed. No longer do you have to wait for a newspaper to report something or have to turn on the TV to listen to it. Now you can get a ping on your phone and simply say, oh, something's happened near me. And this can be extremely helpful for things like natural disasters because it allows information to spread faster and to more people, meaning everyone is more informed. Now, speaking of this connection point, it spreads beyond just individuals and their private lives. It also allows an amazing opportunity for growth in jobs and employment. Not only is social media a place where many employers share job posts and look for people, it's a chance to network with individuals, find new jobs that have been created through social media, as well as being the perfect platform for an entire new generation of social media entrepreneurs. People can set up seemingly whatever business they like, have a free platform to promote it, problem solved. So therefore, social media in many ways has been very positive for the world of work. Now, coming back to this personal identity, or at least personal identity crisis in many respects, on the positive side of it, some people argue firstly that social media can be good for example body image. It's an amazing place to promote body positivity and health. Not only are there seemingly infinite numbers of fitness influencers who are able to spread useful information about diet and nutrition, but it's also a place where people with like-minded opinions regarding body image can interact with one another. You could join entire communities of people who want to spread positivity, and that can be extremely positive, and new social norms are constantly being promoted. And this is particularly good for mental health. Social media spreads positivity and awareness about mental health. Never before, except for in the current age, has mental health been at the forefront of so many debates, and a lot of that has commonly been attributed to social media. Essentially, people no longer have to suffer in silence. Now, of course, a big issue with social media is around privacy, but we have an answer for that as well. Social media, to be blunt, is inherently against privacy in its nature. The whole purpose of social media is to share your life, share your opinions, your experiences with others. Take something like Instagram. You are literally sharing photos of your life, sharing information about you to others. And so to have privacy be a concern to many people isn't really that big of an issue. Particularly this point of, so what if they know what my favourite food is, what my favourite colour is, or what car I drive? It's irrelevant to a lot of people. And all of this is really summed up with how social media impacts life as a whole. Social media gives people a chance to share their lives and interact in a positive way with friends, family, and new people. You can connect, make friends, and do so much more. And so to many, it is simply a positive supplement to add to our current and pre-existing lives. Now, of course, social media is not without its downsides, and there are a lot of them, so let's just get straight into it, I guess. First of all, social media can lead to isolation from real human interaction. Yes, it's incredibly easy to connect with people online, and in something like the pandemic, that was great. But now that we can go back to in person, many people don't want to. It's so much easier to stay locked up inside your room, communicating with people over the internet, where it's safe, it's comfortable, than actually going out and meeting people. And even more than that, if you're constantly seeing people going out partying, doing things, it can increase this fear of missing out. So even in those times where you are voluntarily at home, you may not feel as comfortable doing it. Now on this point of news, yes, news can spread quickly with social media. But is that news always good? Well, the answer is definitely no to that. Social media is full of fake news and misleading information. And while that isn't an inherently new problem, the issue is that with social media, this fake news can spread far more rapidly. Millions of people can share a piece of fake information within a few minutes, and no one's had the chance to fact check it or provide counter alternatives and even new and more correct information. It's not like the news where they vet it and make sure it's all correct. It's just instantly shared like that. And that can spread a lot of dangerous precedents and news which wouldn't have been spread without social media. On the point of opportunities, yes, social media is a great platform to spread opportunities, but to a lot of people, social media can also take away opportunities. Mainly because many people have their productivity obliterated by social media. Social media is one of those things which is an unproductive black hole of time wasting. You could get sucked into scrolling on TikTok for hours and get nothing productive out of it. And particularly for teenagers, this can be an extremely dangerous problem because they can slack on schoolwork, slack on regular work, slack on other important things they have to do in their life because they're so addicted to social media. And we'll come back to that addiction in just a minute. But first, let's come back to body image. To say that social media is good for body images is debatable, let's put it that way. Social media can often promote massive insecurities, particularly for teenagers. All over social media, you see these beautiful, perfect people with doctored images, with filters taken in the perfect lighting conditions, and so on. And if you're repeatedly fed this information, many people begin to see their normal, natural bodies as inferior, which can promote body insecurity, body anxiety, and many other dangerous things. So, it's not always that good for body image. And this really links into perhaps the main problem with social media, which is its mental health element. Social media is widely known for its adverse mental health impacts. Facebook, the largest Meta I should call them now, the largest social media platform and company in the world, reported themselves that their own platforms do more harm for mental health than good. And that is because social media, just to name a few, can promote addiction, abuse, depression, anxiety, and in extreme cases, suicide. Social media is a black hole for many people who suffer from mental health. They can get sapped into very harmful content, they can mix with people who are harmful for their mental health, they can see things which are bad for their mental health, and so on and so forth. Social media sucks people in and gives nothing back in many cases, which is a very genuine problem for the youth of today. And then, perhaps the second most important issue around social media is this question of privacy. Some people might argue, and they're welcome to, that privacy with social media is given up. You know what you're signing up for when you do it. But does that make it good? Just because you know Facebook is taking so much data from you to sell to companies for advertisements and so forth, does that make it good? Because we really need to question how much personal information these companies need and should have the right to access. And then finally, how does it impact life as a whole? Social media shows a carefully curated snapshot of people's lives. It's only natural. People only share the best of their lives on social media. It doesn't show reality. And so, all you get is unfair comparisons and competitions, constantly comparing your life to others, and all of these negative impacts we have just discussed. So on the whole, it might not seem that good, at least to some people. When comparing whether or not social media is good or bad, there are a number of key issues to take into account. We must question, for example, with human interaction, whether it's good or bad. Does it promote online communication with anyone anywhere? Or is it a source for isolation? Does it promote positive news, real-time information keeping people informed? Or does it just help to rapidly circulate fake news? Does it create opportunities for employers and for people who want to be entrepreneurs? Or does it suck the productivity out of everyone's lives? Is it good or bad for body image? Does it promote positive or negative mental health? Is privacy even a concern? And does the life it shows to other people genuinely matter? Well, to be blunt, the answer to all of these is yes, to both of them. Social media is great for human interaction, but it can lead to isolation. It can promote real-time news, but it can promote fake news. It can be good for some people's mental health, but on the whole it can also be very dangerous. Privacy, some people might not care about, but it still takes your privacy from you. So social media is one of those things where it's not so much black and white. There are some very, very positive elements to it, and many people would not like to remove it. But at the same time, it has gotten us used to a lot of dangerous norms and precedents, as well as adverse mental health impacts that we really need to address. So when addressing this question as a whole, whether or not social media is good or bad, there is no definitively correct answer. It depends on your personal experience, your personal perspective, your personal outlook on life. I guess to sum up this comparison, I'll leave you with a question. To you personally, do these positives outweigh the negatives? Or, if we can solve the negative questions and negative issues, would that make social media an almost perfect platform to use? Just something to think about, perhaps. Overall, social media is a contentious issue, as with most things we tend to cover here. Otherwise, well, we wouldn't be covering them, let's be honest. Social media has the potential to be very good, but it also, in practice, is often very bad. It is not inherently good or bad. To some people, it can be amazing. It can be a place to communicate, to wind down after a tough day, to keep in touch with your friends and families, and grow your new business. To others, it can be an addictive source of depression and anxiety. It seems in the future that we will likely see more regulation, particularly in the moment we are seeing a lot of governments start to question social media companies more, particularly in America, where they are really calling into question whether more needs to be done for mental health, for privacy concerns, and so on. Social media likely isn't going anywhere. The younger generation as a whole uses it massively, and as they all grow up, and as more people grow up with social media, it will become more heavily cemented into our everyday lives. The question remains, however, of will that long-term impact be one we look back fondly on, or do we see this as a doomsday device almost, and we look back and go, I wish that never happened. As always, however, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments or on Twitter. Be sure to check back next Monday for another episode. Thank you, of course, once more for listening, and I hope to see you soon.